and everything that we as a city can do for you as businesses and our community here in Williston. I've had pretty amazing ride over the last decade. I've actually been here in Williston for 10 years, almost to the day, actually. And moved here with my wife, and now I have a family here as well. But moved to Williston sight unseen. Started with the city of Williston at the airport at that point in time, and I've had the amazing opportunity to be appointed the airport director in 2017 in a time when we had a little project going on of relocating Slolan Field out to the new Williston Basin International Airport. That idea, it really is, it's kind of been a theme of all the presentations that I've had the luxury of listening to today, is really visionary leadership. To come up with the idea that the city of Williston needed to do something with their airport back in 2010 is really, truly amazing. New airports, new commercial airports don't happen every day. There's been 4 in probably the last 30 years. And to see that and have that foresight to understand that what we had at Slolan Field wasn't going to meet our needs as a community if we wanted to continue to grow, enhance quality of life, attract workforce, and really just have those amenities that you deserve as a member of the traveling public at XWA. So in that, our commission, and I have I sound like a broken record here, but our leadership that we have right now is truly amazing, truly visionary, and it's really awesome to be a part of. I was happy to hear the mayor announce today that he's going to run for re-election next year. I think that's fantastic to see these projects continuing moving forward. All the rest of the commission as well has been so engaged in the projects that I've had the opportunity to be involved in. They talk about all the other infrastructure that's been constructed in Williston over the last decade. 2011, when I moved here, I'm from a small town in Minnesota, Spam Town. The infrastructure that was in place in 2011 is just dramatically different than what we have today. And it's been amazing to be a part of and to see the growth in our community and the support that our community gives to each other as we continue to work to prosper. And we all got kind of knocked on our heels a little bit last year. The airport is no exception. And I'll talk a little bit about that here as we move forward. But, really, I just wanted to really hammer home that the reason why we have this new airport is because of the team that the city commission put in place, whether that be our owner's representative, all of the engineering partners, federal, state, local partners that we had. The night before we opened XWA, we had the entire public works department out there picking rocks to make sure that we were meeting federal standards. Our assistant airport director was painting lines on the runway. It truly was a team effort to make sure that we hit that critical deadline to open XWA on time. All right, pointer works. So as we all experienced in 2020, we started in a really great place. We were up over 20% in the first quarter of 2020 in passenger traffic. Both air carriers that we had, Delta and United, had announced they were adding additional flights starting in June of 2020, of course. And then COVID hit. End of March, passenger traffic across the nation dropped 95%. Typically during the day going through a TSA checkpoint, there's around 2 to 2.5 million people going through those. The slowest day of the year in April of 2020 was about 87,000 people across the whole nation. Just amazing to see that impact to aviation. And that was felt across the country. As we saw that, unfortunately, we were the only airport in the state of North Dakota who lost air service completely by an air carrier. Delta Airlines suspended service in July of 2020, and United had reduced down to 1 flight per day. So we went from 7 to 1. And that, of course, impacts all of our industries and our community in their abilities to get to and from our region. We are a regional facility. We support northwestern North Dakota, northeastern Montana, and Saskatchewan. So to see that dramatic decrease in service was really disheartening for our team out at XWA. We had been seeing such strong growth, but it's something that we had to come together and work through, find solutions, and continue to create those partnerships with those air carriers to make sure that they understand what's happening in northwestern North Dakota so that they can adjust to meet our needs as we continue to recover from the pandemic. So United reintroduced a second daily flight in October of 2020, and since that time, we've seen very steady growth in our passenger traffic at XWA, which is really awesome to see more people flying through, see more families flying through. There's definitely a priority to leisure travel right now in the country, but even in our community as well. We see that corporate travel, which has always been the majority of travelers in Williston, is significantly declined still to this day, because while Williston and North Dakota has stayed open and has been at the forefront, in my opinion, of reduction in restrictions and things of that nature, a lot of the industries that support northwestern North Dakota are global. And a lot of those areas still have significant restrictions across the country and across the world. And that does continue to impact our traffic as well. So since that time, though, we've been able to, with the support of our city commission, come to an agreement with Delta Airlines to resume service on June 5th. So extremely excited to see that flight resume. And as it becomes more and more successful, I'm very confident and optimistic that we'll continue to see enhanced air service by both Delta and United. Some other things that happen with our new facility, we're able to accommodate requests like a charter flight by Sun Country Airlines in October going to Nashville for the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game, which UND is playing Penn State. They fly a 737-800. It's about a 180,000-pound airplane. And that airplane could have landed at Slolan Field, but it would not have left because it would be stuck in the runway. Those types of operations are things that we just couldn't accommodate as a community. We had to say no to those. And that's something that we never want to have to do. We want to have the infrastructure in place to be able to allow for that growth. So our new facility is right-sized for our community today, has that opportunity for growth in the future if the airline industry changes and things of that nature. But we're really excited to see those types of activities starting to take off again, because we had a sold-out plane last year. Unfortunately, the game was canceled in Nashville. But if you're looking to go to Nashville, I'm heading that way on that flight as well. Tickets are for sale. Next slide, please. So because of our significant reduction in air service and our really kind of quick rebound so far as people traveling in northwestern North Dakota, we've seen an increase in what we call leakage. So airlines report on a monthly basis, if you buy an airline ticket, they capture your credit card information and they know where you're from and what airport you should be flying out of based on that geographic location. So if you're within a 45-mile radius of Williston and your credit card has that zip code on it, you're captured in our leakage statistics. So if you fly out of Minot or Bismarck, we know that you should have flown out of Williston if you had the air service that met your needs, whether that be price or air carrier or fare or schedule. So as we see the resumption of travel across our area, people are having to drive to other markets. These are just Bismarck and Minot, but you'll notice in 2020 we were capturing 61% of those people in that catchment area, and we've dropped now down to 42%, and that was actually worse not too long ago. So that's a really difficult statistic for me to see, because I know that the people that are going to Minot and Bismarck, there's a reason for it, whether that be there's a leisure carrier there, or there's an air carrier that has a better schedule. And that's something that is my responsibility to make sure I'm effectively communicating that to the air carriers that are serving our market and maybe new air carriers that may be serving our market in the future. So I got a few charts here. I won't read through anything specifically, but they do show a really positive trend for us in Williston. So the green line there is this year. The red line is last year. You'll notice the total passengers. We were seeing the red line was above anything we've experienced in the last 4 years. And then in April, we saw that 95% fall as COVID really took hold across the nation. But since that time, you can see we've actually finally crossed that line where we are above last year, and significantly above the same month last year. Actually, you may have heard the mayor mention 252% higher than last year, but we're also 11% higher than just last month, which is really positive to see. Unfortunately, that means that our aircraft that are flying out on United Airlines are extremely full, and it leads to, if you're trying to book a ticket, especially close out from, if you're trying to buy a ticket next week, there's a potential that you're not going to be able to find a ticket because that flight's already sold out. And so that's a positive trend in my ability to articulate that to our airline partners. That's what they're looking for. Williston's always been kind of a unique market. People like to buy their plane tickets really close to when they're going to travel, which is not what the airline likes to see. They want to have you buy a ticket 3 months in advance so they know that ticket's sold. And that's how they're looking at the airline or their schedules today. They're very specifically looking for those advanced bookings. And that, again, just creates another challenge, and it makes it a priority for me to make sure that I'm effectively communicating how our community travels. And it's kind of unique. I check seats pretty regularly on the United flights just to see how things are filling up. And I'll look at tomorrow as an example, and there will be 4 or 5 seats available on an airplane. And then I'll look that same morning of the flight, and it will be sold out. So that means 5 people bought their plane ticket to fly out of Williston the day before, which is crazy to me. I don't do that, but there's a lot of people that do. Business travelers do that, things of that nature. So it's something that is unique to our market, and not very many communities see that across our nation, but it is something that we need to take into account as we're continuing to work with those airlines. So just another stat, you can see in 2012 is when we actually started having even jet service. So less than 10 years ago, we didn't even have jets flying into Williston. We only had turboprop aircraft. 2014 was the peak of our activity at the time. There was a lot of chaos happening at the old airport at that point, and a lot of challenges associated with that level of activity and the facilities that we had. But it was a fun time. I had the opportunity to be a part of it. You got to create solutions for those issues. And we were starting to see in 2019, we were actually trending towards about 110,000 people in 2020, which would have been very near our peak in 2014. And as we were working towards agreements with additional airlines and things of that nature, we were pretty confident we were potentially going to even surpass that previous record. But as everybody knows, COVID took place, and we got knocked down a little bit, but we're coming back, and we're going to make sure that we get everything we need for our community to meet your travel demands. So a lot of people don't think about this, but there are a lot of other businesses that are supported by the airport and the activity that happens out there. Rental car operations, we have a restaurant, aviation services provider, so fuel sales, flight instruction, aircraft charter, things of that nature. Those are all offered out at XWA, but they've all been significantly impacted by this reduction as well. So those entities, they're seeing modest growth at this point in time, just like our passenger traffic. They are at that mercy to some extent of what we're going to see for passenger traffic. But just wanted to show everyone that as we continue to see enhanced air service, and with the agreements that the city of Williston has been willing to commit to as for air service enhancement, we are going to continue to support the businesses that are at the airport specifically, but also there's indirect impacts. You start bringing more people in on those aircraft, they buy food at the restaurants, they utilize hotels, and spend money in the city of Williston. So with that being said, we did receive some COVID relief funds for the airport, and I'm going to try to run through some of this stuff because I only got 15 minutes. I feel like I talked too long, but so we've so far received $2.5 million through the first 2 rounds. There's another, the American Rescue Act, I believe it's called. We'll have an additional level of funding for airports, still undetermined what the city of Williston is going to receive, but those funds have helped minimize our impacts to our operational expenses because our revenues are based on activity. And we set our rates and charges based on that forecasted level of activity. Pretty hard to forecast a pandemic, unfortunately. So we've been able to ride out those losses in revenue and maintain our operational expenses through these federal funds that have been granted to airports across the country. So the silver lining of 2020, it allowed us to finish up a lot of really great projects out there. We built a monument sign, landscaped County Road 7, which goes from the new bypass out to the airport. If you haven't had an opportunity to see that, I really would recommend that, especially once it turns green. Lots of trees, beautiful signs, and really makes the airport the gateway to our region that I think our city commission envisioned and our regional partners did as well. A few other things, we finished another runway last year as well, Crosswind Runway, that helps support business traffic, medevacs, and a lot of smaller aircraft that can't typically land on our primary runway when winds are of a certain direction or strength. We also finished our Customs and Border Protection facility. So this is an international airport. We can now accept aircraft from across the globe. We received the USDA approval to allow for aircraft to come through Williston to go on to their final destination. They can stop, get fuel. Actually, that requirement is based on the ability to handle international trash, believe it or not. So you have to incinerate trash when it comes from other nations, outside of Canada at least. So we're really excited to have that opportunity. We've never had that in the past. So very, very great piece of infrastructure for our community as people are coming to and from the United States through XWA. We've also made several art installations. We installed some vinyl graphics on windows, sunflower with wheat to really promote that agricultural industry in our region. There is advertising opportunities out there as well, in case you're interested. We also have the XWA Pass program. So it is it is first of its kind in North Dakota. There's only 4 or 5 other airports across the nation that do this. So it allows you have to fill out an application each time you use it. We run you through a real quick check, takes about 10 minutes. We issue you a pass, you're able to go through the TSA checkpoint. You can send off friends and family, you can meet people at the gate, you can come out to eat at the restaurant, you can come out to watch airplanes. You don't have to have a reason to use it. It's free. We just want to get the community out to our new beautiful facility and enjoy that aviation environment. So we did receive several awards. It's a beautiful facility. We were named the Commercial Airport of the Year by the state of North Dakota, and several other architecture awards as well. Concrete awards, pretty fantastic to see that what our team was a part of is being recognized as through all of it, some pretty major awards across the nation. So I will leave it at that. I ran through the last little bit. I apologize. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll be around too for the rest of the afternoon.